definitely not shut up and dribble.
The champ is here. I must be the greatest. The champ is here.
I'm going to continue to stand with the people.
The champ is here.
I will not lose.
I'm a bad man. I shook up the world.
Yes, welcome. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you were here with me. My name is EJ, and I got my man,
MH.
Yes, he is the DB of the show. And we're Black in Sports, giving you a voice to the culture that won't shut up and dribble. And here, man, we're bringing you back inside the locker room where we talk about cultural events and topics in and around the game. And today, man, we're going to talk a little bit about getting back to school, right? Getting back into the groove, man. And MH, you ready to do this?
Yeah.
Well, amen. So, listen, it's that time of year, man, and I'm not there, but, you know, you're soon to be there, but it's just kind of like where you're talking about, like, getting the kids ready to go to school, maybe preschool or the teachers are sending those lists for all the shit that you got to get for the kids to go back to school. I don't remember the list being that long when we went to school, MH, but, you know, all you came up was a spiral notebook and a number 2 pencil, but, you know, I digress. But yeah, it's just that it's that time of year where, you know, different places in the world are just kind of getting their kids kind of ready for school, and it's just kind of brings a couple comparisons, man. But when I say going back to school, man, and I know we both got to kind of reach back, you know, a little bit. But what is that kind of getting back to school on the younger days? We want to start there, man. But on the younger days, what's going back to school meaning for you, man?
I mean, it's funny how it changed throughout time, and we'll see how as mine gets a little older how I feel about going back to school again for the third time changes. But I never enjoyed it going back to school outside of going like school shopping, which was always comedy with Mima, my mom, when it comes to what school clothes and what's not school clothes and what school shoes and not school shoes.
Is it kind of like that meme you sent me?
It's kind of exactly like that meme. Shout out to Mima. That is fairly accurate. Go put that back. Yeah.
Yeah. No, the next school clothes. What you need that for?
Correct. I do wonder. I mean, one of the good things, I went to school in kind of my neighbor. I lived in the neighborhood that I went to school in, essentially, and one of the good things about it was we would run to. We would never drive it. We would run to the school. We know when the class is going to be listed, who's going to be in your class and everything like this. Is in elementary school. And I know I would run, and we would run. Me and my homeboy would run to the school, and we'd look and try to find her name, and be like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we got Miss Kemp." And we always thought it was like the principal like hooked us up because we were like neighbors. And I know now that I'm looking back on our parents probably contacted the school and was like, "Hey, it works out if you just put them in the same class, like they can kind of go to school together and watch all that kind of stuff." But we all like, yeah, man, I don't know how it keep happening like this, man. We always get in the same class.
We lucky, man.
Yeah, we lucky, man. So I don't know. That part of school, going back to school was exciting, but not being able to stay up at night is kind of the things that I didn't look forward to going back to school. And that's kind of changed as I got older. But
absolutely.
What was kind of your back to school memories there?
You know, they definitely varied, but the one that just sticks out was when I moved from Florida to Ohio. And I think that would be like the one that really stands out, right? Because, you know, you're growing up, you know, you're finally kind of getting your groove. And I moved in the 6th grade, right? So for me, it was moving in Ohio where I think the schools was, there was 6 through 8 was how the middle school, right? And just moving to a new place, you know, no beaches, no sun, like just different, right? Like walking to the school bus, like not knowing where the school stop, you know, the school bus stop is, and just this random, because like it was right before school. So, you know, not having that same thing where you're like, oh, who's in my class? I'm like, man, I don't know none of these. And I'm the kid from Florida. I'm the new kid. right?
Yeah.
So all of those things that come with the new kid of people that have built all of their things from the different elementary schools that they went to coming in. So that's the one thing I think I remember from there. And it just ended up working. Luckily, my cross the street neighbor, shout out to Mario, was in the same grade and same age. So it's like we quickly became like friends. Now my running mate. And then, once he comes, and then, the kill all be all is we had a nice lot beside our where I grew up. So that was where everybody played ball. You do your thing there.
Yeah, you could get a name for yourself really quick.
Hey, you do that, everything kind of works out. But, it was just the angst kind of going into that, being the new kid and then moving. And I'm like, so how was that for you? Because as one of the jokes or, one of the things we talk about is just, the different places you went to school. How did that kind of affect you, or was there a lot of change?
It wasn't a lot of change for me. It kind of happened a little more for my brothers. I had to change schools early on in kind of my grade school, I guess, career, so to speak, where I changed a little bit. But for the most part, went from essentially middle school or late elementary to middle school and high school. I was kind of in the same kind of scope of area, and I knew who was what. But I mean, I guess for you, that my favorite movie, The Wood, that probably reigns true to your back to school experience.
Big time, brother. And so it's like you said, like learning those different ways. But you get your crew, and then once you get your crew, it's on, right? Like
That's your crew.
So, but that was kind of the going into middle school area. And then like once it was high school, it started to be this change, that we were getting into, right? So now, it's football, right? So now we're going into like high school football days, and you started earlier than everybody else,
right?
From a priority standpoint, right? Like you quit your summer job a little earlier, right? Like because hey, listen, in a couple of weeks, so I got to report to 2 days, so I'm done for the summer. And then just preparing for that had its ebbs and flows, right? So getting ready for camp to play ball was just kind of I don't know. It was different because it's like you're just going to hang out with all your boys and clown for like no school, right? So this is the best time when you're in high school because there's no school. You're just going out there eating horribly because I remember we used to break if you forgot to pack your lunch. And there was a McDonald's down the way back when we could do that.
Right. No, high school, I don't know. I went to a high school that had a really, really good football program, like, traditionally built. I remember growing up, my oldest brother's 10 years older than me. And I remember college wasn't a goal for me. Pros, anything. I just wanted to wear that navy blue helmet that he wore at Overland High School. I remember, that part of going to high school and going back to school, so to speak. I always felt like everybody else was kind of like slackers type of thing in the school. If you weren't playing sports and weren't involved into, your regimen at that point, and you start that when school starts, I always thought they were kind of slack. It's kind of like seniority kind of complex that we would always get just because the football program was so well. I also thought it was an excellent time to drop girlfriends. As like I got school. That was a season. It is an excuse. Hey man, I'm really trying to work on ball. This has been really cool over the summertime. I've had a good time. We can still be cool at school. I'm really trying to focus on ball. And by the time homecoming came, if I wanted to participate in those functions, I would already have a new recruit on the roster at that point. So for that part, it was always a positive to go back to school as well. I think the books became a little bit more serious than they did in elementary school. Okay. It was just time to lock in a little bit. So.
Absolutely. And what people forget, or like, you had, when you played ball or football too, right? You had 2 pitcher days.
Oh, yeah, you did. Yeah.
Right. So it's just like summer, like, okay, you know what I'm saying? All right, you pick your number, spot, and it's boom, pitcher day. And then, that's like a whole kind of thing. You have a lighter practice, and then you go in and you do a team photo which takes forever because you got knuckleheads that won't get into place. And you got that, you always get that like goofy ass cameraman. Like, I don't know why cameramen used to be so goofy back in the days. Because now they seem so professional, and you see some of these shots that these high school kids do with like the flames, and all I had was this and holding the ball, right?
That's it.
Holding the ball. You couldn't even do the Heisman back then, right? So
straight life touch.
Straight life life touch all day.
Straight
that
life
flashback touchy. So
yeah.
Well, no, right? So you took the team. You may have taken position, and then you took your individual photos, right? You had to kill on the individual photos, and it's so funny for me. I remember they had the two things that you had to get. All right, well, at least for me, right? You had to get the button, and you had to get the trading card, like the little five by whatever, right?
Interesting.
And because that's how you kind of, like you said, recruit, right? So the biggest thing from freshman to senior is like how many young ladies had your button, right? So so and this is just kind of where we grew up, right? So it just be so they had their little senior jackets on, the cheerleaders, the band and whoever else, and then like whose button did they have on? So the girls like have certain people's buttons on.
That's very interesting,
right? That's a little throwback, you know what I mean? So
that is throwback. I don't know if we did the button, or maybe I just didn't have it like that. So maybe I didn't have the juice like that.
Hey, listen, that was senior year. You couldn't afford all the buttons, especially when you weren't clocking that field time as a freshman.
That was interesting. I was always, I used to see teammates that had, girlfriends and stuff, and they used to wear like their teammates like road jersey or whatever, like to the games or whatever. That was cool. Like you had to wear your girl had to wear your number in the stadium. I never wanted them to meet Mima or have Mima question.
Know who it is, bro?
Yeah. Do you go to church on Sunday? I didn't think that was necessary for the young lady at that point in my life. So that's also part of the reason why I had to cut things off in the summer before it was time to play. That's funny.
That's hilarious, though. And then so then it's kind of moving on in college, right? Like then it became a business, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, the first year, getting recruited, like going through that whole process, and the grandeurs ideas that you have about like what you're going to do, and reality sets in because now everybody's kind of good that's on scholarship, and just playing with you had this band of brothers that now you had to start all over with kind of getting recruited and playing. And then so those times kind of started like it's not back to school anymore. It's like in school, summer school, back to school. It just didn't stop, especially once, the coaches start like, hey, we got a summer program. It's not mandatory, but, I just want to let you know that we got a summer program.
No, it's mandatory. And God is good when back to school happened. When they said, hey, man, the rest of the student body is moving into the campus, and the football players going to help people carry TVs and clothes,
rearrange furniture.
Yeah, you're going to bring them up in to help the freshmen move in with the dorms. To me, that was like the best day the whole summer, because it's 2 days. We've been on campus all summer, and there's been a full work of headaches and film sessions and just a lot of just time put. I just couldn't wait to get some other people on campus immediately. That just meant we closer to playing, but even better, like we done with all this dang practicing and stuff. So,
and what's so crazy for me, the only thing like that was because it's just us, right? Like you got film session, weightlifting, training, study table, more workout, film, stuff. Like you're going through all of this stuff, right? And then camp starts. And like you said, there's nobody else on campus but the soccer team. Yeah. And then like hopefully, your school had a volleyball. So that's where my interest in volleyball really picked up. I'm a really big fan of the sport. Definitely was watching that during the. But anyway, but you're right. Like there's nobody else on campus. And then once the people start coming on campus, it feels like, okay, man, like life and starts in more people in the atmosphere. So that's definitely a grind.
No, what's crazy about it is, and I was actually just talking to my dad about this, about how much of a hustle college sports is. And I mean that in the most respectful way to and I'm glad now that these athletes are getting compensated, because Yeah, if you actually approach football as a student athlete, like, hey, you almost became a liability to the whole program. It's like, nah, Doc, we already told you these are the 4 majors that most
athletes do.
Yeah, here's your classes going to be in the morning, and
don't schedule nothing after 2 p.m.
Yeah, you should be good with that. And if you were one of those academically inclined folks that were like, yeah, I want to be an astronaut, and they're like, I don't think you really want to play. This guy is not. Yeah, he's not.
Are you serious about playing here?
Are you serious about playing here? The hustle is crazy. Because by the time you get out of school, you done. Your name's off the depth chart, and they're like, "Hey, man, you've been great to this program. Thank you for building the foundation, and hope was best in life." And you like, bro, I didn't learn nothing. All I've been doing is trying to go to summer school to be eligible to play, and then waiting for the new people to come in when school starts. I don't even know what I was doing here for the last 4 years or 5 years. I'm just done. And they like, yeah.
And my knees hurt, my shoulder hurt.
You got a degree. Go out there and live. Like, what?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So
it's definitely a hustle, right? And then you just kind of come full circle where we, both kind of push for that. But the ones that go on is the new, or I guess the current day, what the state we're in right now is that these athletes are now back to school with all the training camps for the NFL that's open, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just wonder, like, we can kind of speak to attending them. That's because we've been to a couple of training camps and things that they do, right? So, like, maybe some similar things like pitcher day. Not a lot of the camps have family day, right? This is the time where, the family gets to come out, the kids run on the field, you toss them the ball and things like that. But it's just so funny that, like, as an athlete, that cycle just kind of continues and morphs into kind of different things but now you're taking it from, football is a sport that I played to progress me, right? To get me to college, hopefully with a free or discounted education, to now it's like, this is my job, right? So it's just kind of interesting to see that perspective. And I wonder, if some of those feelings are the same or kind of different, right? Because now it's, all right, I got to go to work.
For sure. And I can only, there's different levels to, I guess the type of player you are in the league, or what tenure, or I guess awards are, I would think that the mental part of getting ready for training camp is different for everybody. For those that have experienced the game, have been successful and have a established career, I'm sure they come into camp like tip-top shape because they probably have a whole regimen of like, hey, this is what I want to do. And it's just more of, to your point, let's get back to really going to work. And then for others that may have the excitement of being a rookie, and I would imagine the nervousness of going to camp. We've seen Hard Knocks years after years, and you're going to camp, but in college, you're kind of the guy, and you just got to kind of get through whatever you got to get through. When you get to the pros, and you're just one of the guys, and anything that you can do could be your last day at the job. I can only imagine what that feels like mentally. And they've changed a little bit now. I know they don't really make those large scale cuts until later in training camp, but it's a business, and every rep, every meeting, every time on really on the campus or at the facility really matters. So never had that experience, and praying for those that go through that seems crazy as well, but get it.
And just that insight is why Hard Knocks, was really driving force, right? For people to kind of get an insight on that, like, because a lot of us don't, and how serious it is. And it brings, an element of all those feelings that we felt throughout. But like you said, now this is how I eat, right? Like, I need to make this team, or, right. I'm in a contract season, or like I got this professional thing down, like you said, and I'm on the TB12 method where like I know what I'm doing all season. And now, I can't have a drink, and I can only eat avocado ice cream from now until, the season's over.
Right.
I wonder, though, if they have that same, like, adulation and just excitement of like, all right, I'm tired with practice and camp. Like I'm ready just for kind of like that game week, right? Where you start to get into that routine. It's like, okay, hopefully Monday off, Tuesday's film, Wednesday walk through game, right? Like, so I wonder if they kind of go through that same thing that we did, especially once you got in the season in our younger days where you couldn't wait for Wednesday, Thursday practice, boy.
No, and for real, and maybe by position, I always like understood like, okay, those first few weeks I'm gonna make a lot of plays because it ain't a lot of tackling, and I'm gonna break on a whole lot of footballs, and I'm gonna make a whole lot. I'm gonna look really, really nice in the shorts part because this is we're gonna do a whole lot of passing. It's gonna be really fun, and then I wouldn't say dread. Yeah, I'm gonna be real. We're in the locker room. I hated that first day where it's pads on and we got to do some old tackling circuit where I'm nah, man, nah. I don't want to
miss tackles on film this week. We got to get back to fundamentals, and then you just thud them out. It's hot.
I don't want to do tackling circuit. And why do we have to do tackling circuit with this dude that should be playing linebacker? No. No. Shout out to Asa, man. Get at linebacker. I hated doing tackling drills with this big ass dude. So like I do wonder as pros, they've been playing pads forever. Is there still a little, and I would imagine there's still element of like, I do not want to do this, man. I don't want to go through that first day of pads because the media always talks about it like, oh, it's going to be the first day of pad. The pads come on and that's going to separate. I'm like, that has never changed since elementary school of that first day of pads. And as a former football player, I hated it, but it is a necessary evil.
And then you had Gohar Rudiger, right? You had some kind of Rudy that was like, yo, man, listen, bro. Like, when we're in the season, that shit's out. Like, if you want to do that during 2 days, maybe. But, like, bro, like, you don't calm your ass down.
Even then, man. Yeah, go out. You're not going to play. So, chill out.
Now, how do you think – I've always wondered, like, kickers and punters, like, they have the easiest – I mean, except for the running, right? Like if they have, how sometimes you had the condition qualifying that you had to do, whatever, to make sure you're timed and all that stuff. But kickers have the easiest 2 days, and I am a meaning to offend any kickers or punters out there because there's no way. Or if you get on, like shout out to Greg for the Steelers, man, was a long snapper. That's all he did. Maybe went on special teams to run down for kick coverage, but long snapper. Like, what do they do for like a whole hour and 15 minutes of practice?
I don't know.
Until you come in into the special period, and then they disappear again.
They disappear. I would think training camp has to be rough for them, because football is a very team sport, right?
Yes.
So the training camp is sweat equity. It's time invested in each other. It's bonding. It's all those things. It's working through the bumps and bruises, is being sore and all that kind of stuff. Do you even have that feeling as a kicker? Can you even say that you're in training camp as a specialist? I don't know. Maybe you can. Maybe you can't. Do you feel bad about the teams? I know you probably don't say anything like, let's go, guys. Let's finish. Do you say that as a kicker? Like, can you even say these football phrases? Let's go, man. Let's grind. We got to grind today. It's like, shut up. Like, do you even have that voice? Maybe I don't know.
On what Hard Knocks did they lead with what a kicker was doing or a long snapper was doing? Hey, listen, I'm going to lead the phrase. Kickers are people too.
100%.
But it's just like you said. There's levels. There's definitely levels.
Yeah. Now, I mean, with the new NFL rules, maybe there's a new kickoff rule. Maybe there's a new element to what they got to do in training camp. Maybe there's a new emphasis on their roles in training camp. But yeah, I do wonder about them.
It's going to be interesting. But no, man, I appreciate you jumping on, man. Just wanted to chop it up, kind of, we're in that season, right? And it's good to see and just kind of talk about how, and see that evolution, man. So I hope if you've never played football or a fall sport, right? Because, everybody had to report to camp a little earlier before those school days. So, man, tell us if there's any memories or things that you remember kind of jumping into those fall sports. MH, man, final thoughts. You got anything for the people?
Yeah, man. I mean, I guess I had a chance to visit California this past week with the family, and guess I didn't really we kind of remember the senses of things growing up in our childhood, whether it's family cooking or something like that. But in Vegas, and as much as I love Vegas, we don't really have a whole lot of natural grass. And so when I was in Southern Cal, we went by somewhere and they were mowing the grass, and I smelled that, and it brought me back to like, man, I love football. Like the smell of the freshly cut grass, the siren and the horns between periods of football practices. Like, I do miss this part of football. I don't think that will ever go away. Now, again, I would never want to put pads on ever again. But that part of it is like, man, I really, truly miss this part of the locker room, the laughs, the not really wanted, the sound of your shoulder pads being buckled, just the sounds of training camp, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good one, man.
It brought me back to some like cool memories, right? I don't know. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And that's kind of like anytime, no matter what level of athlete, if you touch that grass, you get that extra little spring.
Yeah. Fresh cut. Yeah.
That fresh cut. So it does like bring you back to stuff. And it's definitely, nostalgia, just kind of stuff around that, like hearing the pads and whistle blows, you know. And seeing people kind of do the breaks, even the huddle breaks, right? Like when you get in there, family on 3, family on me.
Yeah.
Come on, just all of that stuff just brings you back, man. That's good stuff.
Go on 3.
And then the people out of breath, man. You trying to say that stuff when you tired, man. Like, hey, man, break this out, man. No long talkings in the huddle, man. Just 1, 2, 3, let's get out of here, man.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, hey, man, that's back to school, man, or back to training camp, however you like to call it, man. So, hey, thank you for the people for watching, man. I hope you enjoyed this episode. As you know, we drop new episodes every Thursday. Please follow or subscribe to our YouTube channel, because seeing is believing. If you see it, you can be it. And to know that we're live, our audio podcast is everywhere you listen to podcasts. So Spotify, Google, Apple Play, all the places. And you can even ask your Alexa, play Black in Sports. And I said that just so your Alexa will play it right now. But no, thank you, man. Look forward to seeing you next week. And until then, please, 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 we say we're rooting for you. Stay safe, practice gratitude.
Screaming, all us blacks got is sports and entertainment until we even.
Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yo. Look. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Spent about 2 racks on handmade new rags. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. That's everybody from sports to college class to rap.